Looks like it's time to go live. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're picking up in Jeremiah chapter, I don't remember. We'll just open it up and find out. Good morning, Travis Bolt. I think it's just me and you getting in the word this morning. That is totally fine, though. All right. Share the screen. And I'm trying not to be too sniffly, but it is what it is. Hey, where'd my Bible app go? There it is. All right. The encouraging community. What up, fam? Good to see you. Oh, look what I could do. I didn't realize I could do this. What up, fam? You said you use local honey, right? Well, yeah, I do use local honey, but we've been out of local honey. That would definitely help, or that could definitely help. We'll be getting some of that soon. Share screen. Boom. There we go. There we go. All right. All right. The most important cup of coffee is the first cup of coffee. A little behind schedule this morning. Let's see this. Hold on. Oh, I need a bigger green screen. It doesn't fill up the whole space very good. There we go. All right. What happened to my share screen? Good morning, J.R. Cleve. Good to see you. And how did the end of that conversation go with Sean and that other gentleman? Seemed like good part way through there, he just kind of checked out and wasn't interested in having a productive conversation anymore, unfortunately. Wait a second, I'll get a napkin. All right. We'll go ahead and open up in a word of prayer. We'll get right into the word this morning, about 20 minutes past when I kind of wanted to start, but two immovable men. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's important no matter how educated we become in the word that we are still teachable, because the Father will still lift veils from our eyes. And I'm not saying that there's one that he's not seeing. I haven't studied enough to really pick anything apart. I know that I have differences in the way I see things currently, but it is important that we are able to be teachable. If the Holy Spirit wants to move on us and give us some different information than we currently hold to. But anyways, we'll just pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for your word that we get to dive into together and the fellowship that we have here. Father, I pray that this time will be edifying to you and to each other, and that it would bring you joy, Father, and that we would go about our day with humility and love and mercy and grace. Father, just help us to walk like your Son walked, and help us to see what that looks like by reading your word and getting to know it, as we know that your Son, Yeshua, is the word made flesh. And I just pray that as we dive into the word better, that we would draw closer to you and you would draw nearer to us. And pray that you keep our families safe and healthy, and just bless each person here today and bless their families. And I ask this in the name of Yeshua. Amen. Oh yeah. So the other gentleman was Andrew. Yeah, dispensationalism. It's a tough one to kick at first. I don't know how I didn't see through it. Probably because I wasn't ready to see through it. Maybe the timing wasn't right. You know, the Father has perfect timing, and for some reason, it took me 5 years from having a brother tell me about keeping the Torah and keeping the commandments of Yahweh that I actually changed my life at all. Let me let my pup out real quick. Yes, go outside. Go outside. Good dog. Yeah, and I wasn't rude to my friend, but in my heart, I was calling him a Pharisee, you know. So I feel that I've been on that other side of the aisle where somebody was trying to show me, and that was like 10 years ago. It took me 5 years to until the Father started working on showing me these things for myself, and and when he started showing it to me, I was humbled and literally I was praying and the Father told me you need to get up and go to your brother. And I owed him some money from way back. And so I called him and said, "Hey, bro, you're not going to believe this. The Father showed me what you were trying to tell me is true and just wanted to tell you I apologize for rejecting what you were trying to show me a long time ago." And I said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I got that $300 I owe you. I'm gonna send that to you now." Because that was another thing he convicted me. The Father reminded me of that money. I didn't even remember. It was like way off my radar by now. And it's so funny because through that conversation, I ended up in Missouri because he was out here already and our relationship was restored and and he offered me to come and land on his property and put my tiny house here because we hadn't even bought the tiny house yet. But yeah, it was kind of wild. There was restoration. Um, I had to eat a big old slice of humble pie calling my buddy. We grew up children together in like elementary school and middle school. And then after high school, he moved away. And yeah, there was a lot of symbolism tied up into that situation. Hold on, I gotta let these dogs in. They're just driving me nuts. Surely you guys could hear that.
But yeah, I repented and there was atonement. The Father was blessing my obedience and humility because as we know from reading the word that what he desires is not our accolades and our accomplishments, but a broken and contrite heart. He can use that. And so every time you find yourself feeling broken, and contrite is basically submitted, contrite is um it's the opposite of stiff-necked, right? It's you're usable right now. You're vulnerable, and that's when he can come in and for lack of a better way to put it, I know it's corny, but like sweep you off your feet, and then like all of a sudden you're just like in awe of how much he loves you, even though you make a mess of things. But anyways, we'll go ahead and start reading. But yeah, that was kind of cool. That whole thing with my buddy, and now here I am. I'm still on his property. and we have a healthy relationship. Before we ever moved out here, we were both new people, we're like, hey, if there's ever an offense, we have a prearranged agreement for forgiveness. How many times should we forgive? 70 times 7. And thankfully I mean, it's kind of an anomaly. Praise Yah. And I pray that he keeps it that way. We've managed to live peaceably as neighbors for the last 3 years and haven't had any issues. Sorry, I'm trying to look for, like, oh, there it is. My eSword. I'm still waking up. No. This is the downside of having your Bible reading on a Bible app instead of in a physical Bible. You can't just open it up to your bookmark and see where you were. I think we were at Jeremiah, and we had 9 chapters left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I thought it was 44. Okay. Let's go back to 43 and just hit the tail end of that for context, shall we? Because context creates comprehension. I made that up myself. I'm kidding. Sorry. All right. Let's see. One thing you guys are gonna find out about me is I don't take myself too seriously. And that can be misunderstood as lack of reverence. Trust me, that's not what it is. I'm just a goofball. Okay, we'll start right here. We're going to read this whole chapter. No, chapter 43, verse 8. And the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah. My dog is going to wake up my wife. Hold on a sec. Sorry. Come on, out of it. No. All right. And the word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah in Tapanhes, saying, take large stones in your hand, and you shall hide them before the eyes of the men of Judah, in the clay, in the brick courtyard, which is at the entrance to Pharaoh's house in Tapanhes. Then you shall say to them, thus said Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, I am sending, and I shall bring Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, my servant, and I shall set his throne above these stones that I have hidden, and he shall spread his canopy over them, and he shall come and strike the land of Mitzrayim. That's Egypt. He shall come and strike the land of Egypt, bringing death to those appointed for death, and captivity to those for captivity, and the sword to those for the sword. And he shall set fire to the houses of the mighty ones of Mitzrayim, and he shall burn them to take them captive. And he shall cover them with the land of Mitzrayim, as a shepherd puts on his garment. And he shall go out from there in peace. And he shall break the stone pillars of the house of the sun, which are in the land of Mitzrayim. And he shall burn the houses of the mighty ones of the Mitzrites with fire. Chapter 44, verse 1. And the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the Yehudim, the Jews, who were dwelling in the land of Mitzrayim, who were dwelling in Migdol, and at Tapanhes, and at Noph, and in the land of Pathros, saying, thus said Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, you yourself have seen all the evil that I brought on Jerusalem, that's Jerusalem, and all the cities of Judah. And see, this day they are in ruin, and no one dwells in them, because of the evil which they had done to provoke me, by going to burn incense, by serving other mighty ones, whom they did not know, they nor you nor your fathers. And I sent to you all my servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them, saying,
Please do not do this abominable matter that I hate. Okay, so I was watching a live stream with a dispensationalist and a brother who keeps the commandments of the Most High. Last night, Sean on Sean Griffin's channel, it was Sean talking with a brother named Andrew, and he was bringing up, you know, the writings in Isaiah that saying your burnt offerings I hate and your new moons I can't endure, and all these different verses. And this is why, though. This is why he said this to them, because they were in a state of apostasy. They were backsliding. They had turned their back on God. They were serving other mighty ones. See, this same state said, but they did not listen or incline their ear to turn from their evil, not to burn incense to other mighty ones. So if that's the place that people are in, whether they say that they're praising the Most High, but they're worshiping our Heavenly Father as the pagans worship their false deities, he doesn't accept that. He doesn't accept that at all. So it's not that the new moons or the offerings that he commanded were all of a sudden bad. It's that they had uncircumcised hearts. They were not following him with their heart and their mouth. They were saying that they love him, but their heart was far from him. We'll just continue reading though. Sorry. But I know that there could be confusion on some of the things that come up, because if you don't have context, like why he was saying these things to those people, then you might assume that, you know, just new moons in general, or those sacrifices that he ordained in his Torah, are all of a sudden not good. But we know that Yahweh is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So that's not the case. Chapter 44, verse 6. Okay, because they didn't listen or incline their ear to turn from their evil, nor burn incense, not to burn incense to other mighty ones. So my wrath and my displeasure were poured out and burned in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. And they became a ruin and a wasteland, as it is this day. And now, thus said Yahweh, the Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, why are you doing this great evil against your lives, to cut off from you man and woman, child and infant, from the midst of Judah, leaving none to remain, by provoking me with the works of your hands, by burning incense to other mighty ones in the land of Mitzrayim, where you have gone to dwell, to cut yourselves off and be a curse and a reproach among all the nations of the earth. Have you forgotten the evils of your fathers, and the evils of the kings of Judah, and the evils of their wives, and your own evils, and the evils of your wives, which they have done in the land of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem? To this day they have not been humbled, nor have they feared, nor have they walked in my Torah, and in my laws that I set before you and your fathers. Therefore, thus said Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, I am setting my face against you for evil and for cutting off all Judah. And I shall make the remnant of Judah, who have set their faces to go to the land of Mitzrayim, to sojourn there, and they shall be consumed in the land of Mitzrayim, fall by the sword, consumed by scarcity of food. And from the least to the greatest they shall die, by the sword and by scarcity of food. And they shall be an oath and an astonishment, and a curse and a reproach. And I shall punish those dwelling in the land of Mitzrayim, as I have punished Jerusalem, by the sword, by scarcity of food, and by pestilence. And none of the remnant of Judah who have gone into the land of Mitzrayim to sojourn there shall escape or survive, lest they return to the land of Judah, to which they are longing to return to dwell there, for they shall not return, except those who escape. Then all the men who knew that their wives had burned incense to other mighty ones, and all the women who stood by, a great assembly, and all the people who dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim, in Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, We are not going to listen to you in the matter about which you spoke to us in the name of Yahweh, but we shall do whatever has gone out of our own mouth to burn incense to the sovereigness of the heavens and pour out drink offerings to her. The Queen of Heaven, that's who they're referring to, aka Diana. There's a lot of information on that on the internet if you're interested. False deities. Um, we shall not do what has gone out from your own mouth, we shall do whatever has gone out of our own mouth to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven and to pour out drink offerings to her as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our heads, and the cities of Judah and in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, and we had plenty of food, and we were well off and saw no evil. But since we ceased burning incense to the Queen of Heaven and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have lacked all and have been consumed by the sword and by scarcity of food. And when we burned incense to the Queen of the Heavens and poured out drink offerings to her, did we make cakes for her to idolize her and to pour out drink offerings to her without our husbands? Then Jeremiah spoke to all the people, to the men and to the women, and to all the people who had given him that answer, saying, as for the incense that you burned in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, you and your fathers, your kings and your heads, and the people of the land, did not Yahweh remember them? And it came into his heart, and Yahweh could no longer bear it because of the evil of your deeds and because of the abominations which you did. Therefore, your land is a ruin, an object of astonishment, a curse, and without an inhabitant, as it is this day, because you have burned incense and because you have sinned against Yahweh, and did not obey the voice of Yahweh, or walk in his Torah, in his laws, and in his witness. Therefore, this evil did befall you, as it is this day. And Jeremiah, said to all the people and to all the women, hear the word of Yahweh, all Judah who are in the land of Mitzrayim. Thus spoke Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, saying, you and your wives have spoken with your mouths, and have filled with your hands, saying, we shall perform our vows, and that we have made, to burn incense to the Queen of the Heavens, and to pour out drink offerings to her. Then confirm your vows and perform your vows. Therefore, hear the word of Yahweh, all Judah who are dwelling in the land of Mitzrayim. See, I have sworn by my great name, declares Yahweh. My name shall no longer be called upon by the mouth of any man of Judah in all the land of Mitzrayim, saying, as the Master Yahweh lives. See, I am watching over them for evil and not for good. And all the men of Judah who are in the land of Mitzrayim shall be consumed by the sword and by scarcity of food, until they come to an end. And those who escape the sword, few in number, shall return from the land of Mitzrayim to the land of Judah. And all the remnant of Judah who came into the land of Mitzrayim to sojourn there shall know these words, know whose word is established, mine or theirs. And this is the sign to you, declares Yahweh, that I am punishing you in this place, so that you know that my words are certainly established against you for evil. Thus said Yahweh, see, I am giving Pharaoh, Hophra, sovereign of Mitzrayim, into the hand of his enemies, and into the hand of those who seek his life, as I give Sidkiah, sovereign of Judah, as I gave Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Judah, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, his enemy who sought his life. Sorry, I gotta blow my nose right quick. Sorry. All right. A little bit better, maybe. Yeah, that's right. Gr. Cleve, Diana, goddess of the moon, and there's still a lot of moon worshiping going on today, and basically, it's kind of been it's kind of come to fruition that they just admit that it's Luciferianism. You know, they anyways, we won't go down that rabbit hole, but good morning, JS Genesis Designs, Lost Light. Good to see you guys. Oh yeah. See, this is cool. Uh um fancy. See, Diana, goddess of the moon. Roman Jeeper, shalom, brother. All right, getting right back into it. The word that Jeremiah the prophet spoke to Baruch, son of Neriah, when he had written these words in a book from the mouth of Jeremiah, in the 14th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, king of Judah, saying, Thus said Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, concerning you, Baruch, you have said, Woe to me now, for Yahweh has added grief to my pain. I have been wearied with my sighing and have found no rest. Say this to him, Thus said Yahweh, See what I have built, I am breaking down, and what I have planted, I am plucking up. That is the entire land. And do you seek great matters for yourself? Do not seek them, for look, I am bringing evil on all flesh, declares Yahweh. But I shall give your life to you as a prize in all places, wherever you go. Chapter 46. The word of Yahweh which came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning the nations, from Mitzrayim concerning the army of Pharaoh, Necho, king of Mitzrayim, which was by the river Euphrates. By the river Euphrates in Carchemish, and which Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, had stricken in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, king of Judah. Prepare the large and small shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses and mount up, you horsemen. Stand with helmets, polish the spears, put on the armor. Why do I see them afraid, turn back, and their fighters are beaten down, and they have fled in haste? They did not look back, for fear was all around, declares Yahweh. Do not let the swift flee away, nor the mighty man escape. They shall stumble and fall toward the north by the river Euphrates. Who is this rising like a flood, whose waters surge about like the rivers? Mitzrayim rises like a flood, and its waters surge about like the rivers. And he says, Let me rise and cover the earth. Let me destroy the city and its inhabitants. Go up, O horses, and rage, O chariots, and let the mighty men go forth, Cush and Put, who handle the shield, and Lud, who handle the bend the bow. For this is the day of the Master Yahweh of hosts, a day of vengeance, to revenge himself on his adversaries. And the sword shall devour and be satisfied, and made drunk with their blood. For the Master Yahweh of hosts has a slaughtering in the land of the north by the river Euphrates. Go up to Gilead and take balm, O maiden, and the daughter of Mitzrayim. In vain you have used many remedies, there is no healing for you. Nations have heard of your shame, and your cry has filled the land. For the mighty has stumbled against the mighty, they have both fallen together. The word which Yahweh spoke to Jeremiah the prophet about the coming of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, to strike the land of Mitzrayim. Declare in Mitzrayim, and let it be heard in Migdol, and let it be heard in Noph, and in Napanes. Say, stand fast and be prepared, for a sword shall devour all around you. Why were you strong? Why were your strong ones swept away? They did not stand because Yahweh drove them away. He made many stumble. Indeed, they fell over each other and said, arise, let us go back to our own people and to the land of our birth, away from the oppressing sword. There they cried, Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, is but a noise. He has let the appointed time pass by. As I live, declares the king, whose name is Yahweh of hosts, for as Tabor is among the mountains, and as Carmel by the sea, he shall come. O you daughter dwelling in Mitzrayim, prepare yourself to go into exile, for Noph shall become a waste and a ruin, and be burned without inhabitant. Mitzrayim is like a very pretty heifer, but destruction comes. It comes from the north. Her hired ones, too, in her midst, are like fattened calves, for they too shall turn. They shall flee away together. They shall not stand, for the day of their calamity has come upon them, the time of their punishment. Its sound moves along like a serpent, for they move on like an army, and come against her like with axes, like woodcutters. They shall cut down her forest, declares Yahweh, for it is not searched, because they are more numerous than locusts, and without number. The daughter of Mitzrayim shall be put to shame. She shall be given into the hand of the people of the north. Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, has said, see, I am bringing punishment on Anan of No, and on Pharaoh, and on Mitzrayim, and on their mighty ones, and on their sovereigns, and on Pharaoh, and on those trusting in him. And I shall give them into the hand of those who seek their lives, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and into the hand of his servants. And afterward it shall be inhabited as in the days of old, declares Yahweh. But as for you, do not fear, O my servant Jacob, and do not be discouraged, O Israel. For look, I am saving you from afar, and your descendants from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall have rest and be at ease, with no one disturbing. Do not fear, O Jacob, my servant, declares Yahweh, for I am with you. Though I make a complete end of all the nations to which I have driven you, yet I do not make a complete end of you. But I shall reprove you in right ruling, and by no means leave you unpunished. And the word of Yahweh that came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning the Philistines before Pharaoh struck Azah. Thus said Yahweh, see, waters are rising out of the north. It shall be an overflowing flood, and they shall overflow the land and all that is in it, the city and those who dwell within. And men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall wail, at the noise of the stamping hooves and his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, at the rumbling of his wheels. The fathers shall not look to their children because of weakness of hands, because of the day that shall come to ravage all the Philistines, to cut off from Sor and Sidon every helper that survives. For Yahweh is ravaging the Philistines, the remnant of the isle of Caphtor. Baldness shall come upon Azah. Ashkelon shall be cut off with the remnant of their valley. Till when would you cut yourself? O you sword of Yahweh, how long till you rest? Put yourself up into the sheath, rest and be still. How shall it rest when Yahweh has given it a command? Against Ashkelon and against the seashore. There he has appointed it. Hush. Concerning Moab, this is chapter 48. Concerning Moab, this is what Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, said: Woe to Nebo, for it is ravaged. Kiriathaim is to be I'm sorry. Kiriathaim is put to shame, captured. The high stronghold is put to shame and broken down. There is praise for Moab no longer. In Heshbon they have devised evil against her. Come and let us cut it off as a nation. O madmen, you are also cut off. A sword goes after you. Listen, an outcry from Horonaim, ravaging the great destruction. Moab shall be destroyed. Her little ones shall cry out. For on the ascent to Luith, they go up weeping bitterly. For in the descent of Horonaim, the enemy shall hear a cry of destruction. Flee, deliver your own lives, and be like a bush in the wilderness. For because you have trusted in the works of your treasures, you shall be captured, and Chemosh shall go forth into exile, his priests and his heads together. And a ravager shall come into every city. No one escapes, and the valley shall perish and the plain be destroyed, as Yahweh has spoken. Give wings to Moab, for she has to flee away, and her cities become a ruin, with no one to dwell in them. Cursed is he who is slack in doing the work of Yahweh, and cursed is he who withholds his sword from blood. Moab has been at ease from his youth, and he has settled on his dregs, and has not been emptied from vessel to vessel, nor has he gone into exile. Therefore his flavor has stayed in him, and his fragrance is unchanged. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I shall send him tilters, who shall tilt him over and empty his vessels, and break the bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed because of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed in Bethel, their refuge. How do you say we are mighty and strong men for battle? Moab is ravaged, and her cities have been entered, and her chosen young men have gone down to the slaughter, declares the King, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hurries fast. Lament for him, all you who are around him, and all you who know his name. Say, how the strong scepter has been broken, the staff of splendor. Come down from your esteem and sit in thirst, O inhabitant, daughter of Dibon. For the ravager of Moab shall come against you, and shall destroy your strongholds. Stand by the wall and watch, O inhabitants of Aroer. Ask him who flees and her who escapes. Say what has been done. Moab has been put to shame, for it has been broken down. Howl and cry. Let it be heard in Arnon that Moab is ravaged. And judgment has come on the plain country, on Holon, and on Hatzah, and on Mophaath, and on Dibon and Nebo, and on Beth Diblathaim, and on Kiriathaim, and on Beth Gamul, and on Beth Meon, and on Kiriath, and on Batra, and on all the cities of the land of Moab, far or near. The horn of Moab has been cut off, and his arm has been broken, declares Yahweh. Make him drunk, because he has made himself great against Yahweh. Moab shall splash in his vomit, and he shall also be in mockery. And was not Israel a mockery to you? Was he found among Was he found among thieves? For whenever you speak of him, you shake your head. O inhabitants of Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove making a nest in the sides of the cave's mouth. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud, of his loftiness and arrogance and pride, and of the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, declares Yahweh, and his boastings are untrue, and his deeds are false. Therefore I wail for Moab, and I cry out for all Moab. I mourn for the men of Kir Heres. O vine of Sibmah, I weep for you with the weeping of Yazur. Your branches have passed over the sea. They have come to the sea of Yazur. The ravager has fallen on your summer fruit and your grape harvest. Joy and gladness have been taken away from the orchard and from the land of Moab. And I have made wine to cease from the winepress. No one treads with shouting. The shouting is no shouting. From the outcry of Heshbon unto Elale, unto Yahatz, they shall raise their voice from Sohar to Horonaim, like a 3-year-old heifer, for even the waters of Nimrim are dried up. And I shall make an end of Moab to him who offers in the high places and burn incense to his mighty ones, declares Yahweh. So my heart sounds for Moab like flutes, and my heart sounds for the men of Kirhares like flutes. Therefore the wealth they made shall be gone. For every head is bald, and every beard clipped, cuts on all the hands, and sackcloth on the loins. On all the housetops of Moab and in its streets, it is all lamentation. For I have broken Moab like a vessel in which no one delights, declares Yahweh. How has she been broken down? They shall wail. How has Moab turned her back with shame? So Moab shall be a mockery and a horror to all those about her. For thus said Yahweh, see, he soars like an eagle, and shall spread his wings over Moab. Kerioth shall be captured, and the stronghold seized. And the heart of the mighty men in Moab all the day shall be like the heart of a woman in labor. And Moab shall be destroyed as a people, because he has made himself great against Yahweh. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitant of Moab, declares Yahweh. He who flees from the fear falls into the pit, and he who gets out of the pit is caught in the snare. For I am bringing upon Moab the year of their punishment, declares Yahweh. Those who fled stood powerless under the shadow of Heshbon, but a fire shall come out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Sion, and consume the brow of Moab and the crown of the heads of the sons of uproar. Woe to you, O Moab, the people of Chemosh have perished. For your sons have been taken into exile, and your daughters into exile. But I shall turn back the captivity of Moab in the latter days, declares Yahweh. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. Chapter 49. Concerning the Ammonites, thus said Yahweh, has Israel no sons? Has he no heir? Why has Malcolm taken possession of Gad, and his people dwell in its cities? Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I shall sound a battle cry in Rahab of the Ammonites. And it shall be a heap, a wasteland. Her villages shall be burned with fire. Then Israel shall dispossess those who dispossessed him, declares Yahweh. This might be irrelevant, but I'm noticing that sometimes Israel has been referred to as her, and right now it's continually being referred to as him. So maybe they're speaking literally of, I don't know, Jacob, but nonetheless. Not literally Jacob, but you know what I mean. His tribes. How, O Heshbon, for Ai is ravaged. Cry, daughters of Haba. Gird on sackcloth, lament, and diligently search by the walls. For Malcolm shall go into exile with his priests and his heads. Why do you boast in the valleys, your flowing valley, O backsliding daughter, who is trusting in her treasures, saying, who would come against me? See, I am bringing fear upon you from all those around you, declares the Master, Yahweh of hosts, and you shall be driven out, each one straight ahead, with no one to bring home the wanderer. And after this I turn back the captivity of the children of Ammon, declares Yahweh, concerning Edom. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, is there no more wisdom in Teman? Has counsel been lost to those with understanding? Has their wisdom vanished? Flee, turn back, dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I shall bring the calamity of Esau upon them, the time that I shall punish them. If grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? Even thieves by night would destroy only until they had enough. But as for me, I shall make Esau bare. I shall uncover his hiding places, so that he is unable to conceal himself. His seed is ravaged, his brothers and his neighbors, and he is no more. Leave your fatherless children. Let me keep them alive, and let your widows trust in me. For thus said Yahweh, see those whose judgment was not to drink the cup. Drink of the cup. Let me start that verse over. Verse 12. For thus said Yahweh, see, those whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have certainly drunk. And are you the one to go unpunished? You shall not go unpunished, but certainly drink of it. For I have sworn by myself, declares Yahweh, that Bozrah is to become a ruin, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all its cities become everlasting wastes. I have heard a report from Yahweh, and an envoy has been sent to the nations. Gather together, come against her, and rise up to battle. For look, I shall make you small among nations, despised among men. The dread for you, the pride of your heart, has deceived you. O you who dwell in the clefts of the rock, holding the height of the hill. Though you make your nest as high as the eagle, from there I bring you down, declares the Master. And Edom shall be a ruin. Everyone who passes by it is astonished and whistles at all its plagues. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring cities. That's something that I think people forget, is Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring cities were all brought down, declares Yahweh. No one shall dwell there, nor would the Son of Man sojourn in it. See, he comes up like a lion from the Jordan jungle against the home of the strong. But in an instant I shall make him run away from her. And who is the chosen one to appoint over her? For who is like me, and who summons me? And who is that shepherd who stands before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh, which he has counseled concerning Edom, and the purposes he has purposed concerning the inhabitants of Teman. The least of the flock shall drag them away. He shall make their pasture a waste before them. The earth shall be shaken at the noise of their fall. There is an outcry. Its outcry is heard at the sea of reeds. See, like an eagle he flies up and spreads his wings over Bozrah. And the heart of the mighty men of Edom in that day shall be like the heart of a woman in her pain. Concerning Damascus, Hamath and Arpad have been put to shame, for they have heard an evil report. They have been melted in anxiety, like the sea, unable to rest. Damascus has become feeble. She has turned to flee, and trembling has taken hold of her. Distress and pain have seized her like a woman in labor. How is the city of praise deserted, the city of my joy? Therefore, her young men fall in her streets, and all the men of battle are cut off in that day, declares Yahweh of hosts. And I shall kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. To Kedar and to the reigns of Hatzor, which Nebuchadnezzar king of Babel struck. Thus said Yahweh, arise, go up to Kedar, and ravage the men of the east. Their tents and their flocks, their curtains and all of their vessels shall be taken, and they shall take away their camels for themselves, and they shall cry out to them. Fear is on every side. Flee, go away, dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Hatzor, declares Yahweh. For Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, has taken counsel against you, and has devised a plan against you. Arise, go up to the nation at ease that dwells safely, declares Yahweh. It has no gates or bars. They dwell alone. And their camels shall become plunder, and their large herds booty, and I shall scatter them to all winds, those who cut off the corner and bring their calamity from all its sides, declares Yahweh. Hatzor shall be a habitation for jackals, a desert forever. No one dwells there, nor does Son of Man sojourn in it. The word of Yahweh that came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, the king of Judah, saying, Thus said Yahweh of hosts, see, I am breaking the bow of Elam, the chief of their might, and I shall bring upon Elam the four winds from the four quarters of the heavens, and scatter them toward all those winds. And there shall be no nation where the outcries of Elam do not go. And I shall break Elam before their enemies and before those who seek their life. And I shall bring evil upon them, my burning displeasure, declares Yahweh. And I shall send the sword after them until I have consumed them. And I shall set my throne in Elam and destroy from there the king of the heads, declares Yahweh. And it shall be in the latter days that I turn back the captivity of Elam, declares Yahweh. Chapter 50. The word that Yahweh spoke concerning Babel, concerning the land of the Kasdim, by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare among the nations, and let it be heard, and lift up a banner. Let it be heard, and do not conceal it. Say, Babel shall be taken, Bel shall be put to shame. Merodach shall be broken. Her images shall be put to shame, her idols shall be broken. For a nation shall come up against her from the north, which shall make her land waste, and none shall dwell in it. They shall flee, they shall go, both man and beast. In those days and at that time, declares Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, and the children of Judah together, weeping as they come, and seek Yahweh their Elohim. And they shall ask the way to Zion, their faces toward it. Come, and let us join ourselves to Yahweh in an everlasting covenant, never to be forgotten. My people have wandered. My people have been wandering sheep. Their shepherds have led them astray, turning them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. All who found them have devoured them, and their adversaries have said, "We are not guilty, because we have sinned against because they have sinned against Yahweh, the home of the righteous, and the expectation of their fathers, Yahweh. Flee from the midst of Babel, come out of the land of the Chasdim, and be as rams before a flock. For look, I am stirring up and bringing I am s- for look, I am stirring up and bringing up against Babel an assembly of great nations from a land of the north, and they shall array themselves against her. From there she shall be captured. Their arrows are like those of a mighty skilled man, not returning empty handed. Verse 10. And Chaldea shall become plunder. All who plunder her shall satisfy themselves, declares Yahweh. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced, you who plunder my inheritance, because you have grown fat like a heifer threshing grain, and you neigh like stallions. Your mother shall be greatly ashamed. She who bore you shall be humiliated. Look, the last of the nations, a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Yahweh, she shall not be inhabited, but she shall be deserted, all of it. Everyone passing by Babel shall be astonished and whistle at all her plagues. Set yourselves in array against Babel all around. All you who bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against Yahweh. Shout against all Shout against her all around. She has given her she has given her hand, her foundations have fallen, her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Yahweh. Take vengeance on her, as she has done, so do to her. Cut off the sower from Babel, and him who handles the sickle at the harvest time. From before the sword of the oppressor, each one turns to his own people, and each one flees to his own land. Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First the king of Ashur devoured him, and now at last this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, has broken his bones. Therefore thus said Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, I am punishing the kings of Babel, the sovereign, the king of Babel, and his land, as I have punished the king of Ashur. And I shall bring back Israel to his pasture, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his being shall be satisfied on Mount Ephraim in Gilead. In those days and at that time, declares Yahweh, the crookedness of Israel shall be searched for, but there shall be none, and the sin of Judah, but none shall be found. For I shall pardon those whom I leave as a remnant. Go up against the land of Merathaim, against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod. Slay and put them under the ban, declares Yahweh, and do according to all that I have commanded you. There is a sound of battle in the land, and of great destruction. How the hammer of all the earth has been cut off and broken. How Babel has become a ruin among the nations. I have laid a snare for you, and you were captured, O Babel, and you yourself did not know. You have been found and also caught because you strove against Yahweh. Yahweh has opened his armory and has brought out the weapons of his displeasure. For the master Elohim of hosts has a work to do in the land of the Chasdim. Come against her from every quarter. Open her storehouses, pile her up as heaps of ruin, and put her under the ban. Let her have no remnant. Slay all her bulls, let them go down to the slaughter. Woe to them, for their day has come, the time of their punishment. Listen, they flee and escape from the land of Babel. to declare in Sion the vengeance of Yahweh Elohim, the vengeance of his Hakal, or temple. Summon archers against Babel, all you who bend the bow, and camp against it all around. Let no one escape. Repay her according to her work. Do to her according to all she has done. For she has been proud against Yahweh, against the set apart one of Israel. Therefore, her young men shall fall in the streets, and all her men of battle shall perish in that day, declares Yahweh. See, I am coming against you, O proud one, declares the Master Yahweh of hosts. For your day has come, the time of your punishment. And the proud one shall stumble, and he shall fall, with no one to raise him up. And I shall kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around him. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel were oppressed, along with the children of Yehudah, and all who took them captive have held them fast. They refuse to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. Yahweh of hosts is his name. He shall strongly plead their case, so as to give rest to the land, but unrest to the inhabitants of Babel. A sword is upon the Kasdim, declares Yahweh, and it is upon the inhabitants of Babel, and upon her heads, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall be fools. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be broken down. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon the mixed peoples who are in their midst, in her midst, and they shall become like women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be plundered. A sword is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is a land of carved images, and they boast about their idols. Therefore, the wild desert beasts shall dwell in with the jackals, and the ostriches dwell in it. And it shall never again be inhabited, nor dwelt in, unto all generations. As Elohim overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring cities, declares Yahweh, no one would dwell it. No one would dwell there, nor would Son of Man sojourn in it. See, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings stirred up from the ends of the earth. They strengthen their bow and spear. They are cruel, and they show no compassion. They sound like the roaring. They sound like the roaring sea, and ride on horses, set in array, like a man for the battle, against you, O daughter of Babel. The sovereign of Babel has heard the report about them, and his hands became weak. Distress has taken hold of him, pain like that of a woman in labor. See, he comes up like a lion from the Jordan jungle against the enduring pasture. But in an instant I shall make them run rather, away from her. And who is the chosen one whom I appoint against her? For who is like me? Who summons me? And who is that shepherd who stands before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh, which he has counseled concerning Babel. And his purposes he has purposed concerning the land of the Kasdim. The least of the flock shall drag them away. He shall make their pasture a waste before them. And the sound of Babel's capture, at the sound of Babel's capture, the earth shall be shaken, and the outcry shall be heard among the nations. All right, we got a couple of chapters left. These chapters get longer and longer. How are we doing over here? You guys picking up on some of this? Coinkid. Oh, no Coinkidink, the modern translation app called Babel, Right. Yep. Babel. They're fighting to get back to where they were headed, aren't they? All right. Shalom, Aaron. Good to see you, brother. All right. We'll go ahead and keep going. We got 2 more chapters left. And hopefully we're not just glossing over this stuff. I want to make sure that we're reading it to understand it and not just to read it. So if I go kind of slow, forgive me. Chapter 51. Thus said Yahweh, see, I am stirring up the spirit of a destroyer against Babel, against those who dwell in Leb, my appointments. And I shall send winnowers to Babel, who shall winnow her and empty her land. You guys know what a winnowing fork is? It's basically like a pitchfork. They would grab the wheat and toss it up, and the tares would be taken by the wind. It would separate the tares from the wheat. They would use it for doing that. And I shall send winnowers to Babel, who shall winnow her and empty her land. And they shall be against her all around in the day of evil. Let the archer draw his bow, and let him stand ready. And let them stand ready in his armor. Do not spare her young men. Put all her armor under the band. And the slain shall fall in the land of the Kasdim, and the pierced through in her streets. For neither Israel nor Judah is widowed by his Elohim, Yahweh of hosts, who is his Elohim. Though their land has been filled. What was that? Though their land has been filled with the sin against the set apart, with sin against the set apart one of Israel. Flee from the midst of Babel, and let each one save his life. Do not be cut off in her crookedness, for this is the time of the vengeance of Yahweh, the recompense. He is repaying her. Look, you guys notice that in the last few chapters too, Revelation 18 is coming up. So we got to get through this, but it really is, this is end time prophecy. A lot of this is directly related to what we see, as you notice there in Revelation. Babel was a golden cup in the hand of Yahweh, making drunk all the earth. The nations drank her wine. That is why the nations went mad. Babel shall suddenly fall and be broken. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be she might be healed. We would have healed Babel, but she is not healed. Let us leave her and each go to his own land. For her judgment reaches to the heavens and is lifted up to the clouds. Yahweh has brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us relate in Zion and work the work of Yahweh our Elohim. Polish the arrows, put on the shields. Yahweh has stirred up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his plan is against Babel to destroy it. Because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance for his Hakal. Lift up a banner on the walls of Babel, strengthen the watch, station the watchman, prepare the ambush. For Yahweh has both planned and done what he spoke concerning the inhabitants of Babel. You who dwell upon many waters, great in treasures, your end has come, the measure of your greedy gain. Yahweh of hosts has sworn by himself, I shall certainly fill you with men as with locusts, and shall lift up a shout against you. He made the earth by his power, he established the world by his wisdom, and stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he gives forth his voice, the waters of the heavens roar, and he makes vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings for the rain, and he brings the wind out of his treasuries. There's a lot of biblical cosmology tied up into this chapter right here. Verse 17, all mankind has become too brutish to know. Every smith has been put to shame by the carved image, for his molded image is falsehood, and there is no breath in him. They are worthless, a work of mockery. In the time of their punishment they perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the maker of all, and Israel is the tribe of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name. You are my battle axe, weapons of battle, and with you I shall break nations in pieces, and with you I shall destroy reigns. Buddy, shut that door, please. You can come out here, but just shut the door. And with you I shall break in pieces the horse and its rider, and with you I shall break in pieces the chariot and its rider. And with you I shall break in pieces man and woman, and with you I shall break in pieces old and young. And with you I shall break in pieces the young man and the maiden. And with you I shall break in pieces the shepherd and his flock. And with you I shall break in pieces the farmer and his yoke of oxen. And with you I shall break in pieces governors and rulers. And I shall repay Babel and all the inhabitants of Chaldea for all the evil they have done in Sion before your eyes, declares Yahweh. See, I am against you, O destroying mountain, who destroys all the earth, declares Yahweh. And I shall stretch out my hand against you, and I shall roll you down from the rocks and make you a burnt mountain. Hey, buddy, you can get this heater over here and plug it in if you're cold. Verse 26, and they shall not take from you a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but you shall be a waste forever, declares Yahweh. Lift up a banner in the land, blow a shofar among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call the reigns together against her, Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a commander against her, bring up horses like hairy locusts. Separate the nations against her with the kings of the Medes, its governors, and all its rulers, all the land of his rule, so that the land shakes and writhes in pain. For every plan of Yahweh shall be established against Babel, to make the land of Babel a ruin without inhabitant. The mighty men of Babel have ceased to fight. They remained in their strongholds. Their might has failed. They became like women. They have burned her dwelling places. The bars of her gate have been broken. One runner runs to meet another, and one reporter to meet another, to report to the king of Babel that his city is taken on all sides. And the forts have been captured, and they have burned the reeds with fire, and the soldiers are startled. For thus said Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, the daughter of Babel is like a threshing floor at the time it is trodden. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, has devoured us. He has crushed us. He has made us an empty vessel. He has swallowed us up like a monster. He has filled his stomach with many delicacies. He has driven us away. Let the violence done to me and my flesh be upon Babel, says the inhabitant of Sion, and let my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, says Jerusalem. Therefore, thus said Yahweh, see, I am pleading your case, and I shall take vengeance for you and dry up her sea and make her fountain dry. And Babel shall become a heap, a nation of jackals, a habitation of jackals, an astonishment and a hissing without inhabitant. Together they roar like lions, they shall growl like lions' cubs. In their heat I prepare their feasts, and I shall make them drunk, so that they rejoice and sleep a never-ending sleep, and not awake, declares Yahweh. I shall bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with male goats. Oh, how Shishak has been captured, the praise of all the earth been seized. How Babel has become a ruin among the nations. The sea has risen over Babel. She has been covered with the roaring of its waves. Her cities have become a ruin, a dry land and a desert, a land where no one dwells, neither does son of man, pass by it. And I shall punish Bel in Babel, and I shall make him spew out what he has swallowed. And the nations shall no longer stream to him, even the wall of Babel shall fall. Come out of her midst, my people, and let everyone deliver his being from the bruising displeasure of Yahweh. And lest your heart grow faint, and you fear the report heard in the land. For a report shall come 1 year, and after that shall come 1 year, and after that, in another year, a report shall come, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Therefore, see, the days are coming that I shall bring punishment on the carved images of Babel, and all her land shall be put to shame, and all her slain fall in her midst. And the heavens of the earth and all that is in them shall shout for joy over Babel, and the ravagers shall come to her from the north, declares Yahweh. As Babel is to fall for the slain of Israel, so for Babel the slain of all the earth shall fall. You who have escaped the sword, go away, do not stand still. Remember Yahweh from afar, and let Jerusalem come to your heart. We are ashamed because we have heard reproach. Shame has covered our faces, for strangers have come into the set-apart place of the house of Yahweh. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, that I shall bring punishment on the carved images, while the wounded groan throughout all her land. Though Babel should mount up to the heavens, and though she should make the heights of her strength inaccessible, ravagers shall come to her from me, declares Yahweh. Listen, a cry from Babel, a destruction from the land of the Chaldean, because Yahweh is ravaging Babel, and shall silence her loud voice, and her waves shall roar like great waters. The noise of their voice shall resound. Because the ravagers shall come against her, against Babel, and her mighty men shall be captured. Every one of their bows shall be broken, for Yahweh is the El of recompense. He shall certainly repay. And I shall make her rulers drunk, and her wise men, her governors, and her deputies, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a lasting sleep, and not wake, declares the King, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, the broad walls of Babel are completely demolished, and her high gates are burned with fire, and peoples labor in vain, and the nations weary themselves for fire. The word that Jeremiah the prophet commanded Seraiah, son of Neriah, son of Masiah, when he went with Siddekiah, the king of Judah, to Babel in the 4th year of his reign. And Seraiah was a quartermaster. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that would come upon Babel, all these words which have been written concerning Babel. And Jeremiah Sorry, 1 second, guys. What's up?
When are you going to make my waffles?
I got one more chapter left after this. I'm almost done. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Just be patient. All right. Verse 61. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when you come to Babel and see it, and you read all these words, then you shall say, O Yahweh, you have spoken concerning this place to cut it off, so that none shall dwell in it, neither man nor beast, for it is a ruin forever. And it shall be, when you have ended reading this book, that you shall tie a stone to it and throw it into the midst of the Euphrates, and shall say, so does Babel sink and not rise from the evil that I am bringing upon her, and they shall weary themselves. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. Oops. Okay, chapter 52. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Yeremiah of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For through the displeasure of Yahweh, this came to be against Jerusalem and Judah, until he had cast them out from his presence. And Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babel. And it came to be in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th new moon, on the 10th of the new moon, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, and all his army came against Jerusalem and encamped against it. And they built a siege wall against it all around. And the city was under siege until the 11th year of sovereign Zedekiah. On the 9th of the 4th new moon, the scarcity of food was so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city wall was breached, and all the men of battle fled and went out of the city at night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden, while the Kasdim were near the city all around. And they went by the way of the desert plain. But the army of the Kasdim pursued the king, and they overtook Zedekiah in the desert plains of Jericho. And his entire army was scattered from him. And they captured the king and brought him up to the king of Babel at Riblah in the land of Hamath. And he pronounced judgment on him. And the king of Babel slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and also slew all the heads of Judah in Riblah. And he put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and the king of Babel bound him in bronze shackles and took him to Babel and put him in prison till the day of his death. And on the 10th of the 5th new moon, which was the 19th year of the king of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard who served the king of Babel, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of Yahweh and the sovereign's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and all the houses of the great men he burned with fire. And all the army of the Kasdim who were with the chief of the guard broke down all the walls of Jerusalem all around. And Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, exiled some of the poor people and the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the defectors who had gone over to the king of Babel, and the rest of the craftsmen. But Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. And the Kasdim broke the bronze columns that were in the house of Yahweh, and the stands and the bronze sea that were in the house of Yahweh, and brought all their bronze to Babel. They also took away the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the bowls and the ladles and all the bronze utensils with which they served, and the basins and the fire holders and the bowls and the pots and the lampstands and the ladles and the cups, whatever was solid gold and whatever was of solid silver, the chief of the guard took. The 2 columns, 1C, the 12 bronze bowls which were under it, and the stands which King Solomon had made for the house of Yahweh. The bronze of all these vessels was beyond weighing. As for the columns, the height of one column was 18 cubits, and its circumference was 12 cubits, and its thickness was 4 fingers, hollow. And a capital of bronze was on it, and the height of one capital was 5 cubits, with a network of pomegranates all around the capital, all of bronze. And the second column with pomegranates was the same. And there were 96 pomegranates on the sides. All the pomegranates on the network were 100 all around. And the chief of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Stephaniah, the second priest, and all the 3 doorkeepers. And from the city he took 1 eunuch, who was in charge of the men of battle, and 7 men who saw the king's face, who were found in the city. And the scribe of the commander of the army, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, took these and brought them to the king of Babel at Riblah. And the king of Babel struck them and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. Thus Yahweh was exiled from its own land. These are the people whom Nebuchadnezzar exiled in the 7th year, 3,023 Jews. In the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, he exiled from Jerusalem 832 beings. In the 23rd year of Nebuchadnezzar, they skipped ahead a bit. In the 23rd year of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, exiled of the Yehudim 745 beings. All the beings were 4,600. And it came to be in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 12th new moon, on the 25th of the new moon, that Ewil Merodach, king of Babel, in the 1st year of his reign, lifted up the head of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and brought him out of prison, and spoke kindly to him, and set his throne above those of the kings who were with him in Babel. So he changed his prison garments, and he ate bread continually before the king all the days of his life. And as for his allowance, there was a continual allowance given him by the king of Babel, a portion for each day, until the day of his death, all the days of his life. So, who was this that was brought out? I want to refresh that real quick, because it came to be in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 12th new moon, on the 25th of the new moon, that Ewil Merodach, king of Babel, in the 1st year of his reign, lifted up the head of, is this Jehoiakim? Jehoiakim, sovereign of Judah. So he brought him out of prison. Jehoiakim. I want to just see what that says in KJV. Yeah, Jehoiakim, king of Judah. Okay. Interesting. So, seems significant enough. We'll just remember Jehoiakim, king of Judah, was brought out of prison, and king of Babel spoke kindly to him and set his throne above those of the kings who were with him in Babel. So he changed his prison garments, and he ate bread continually before the king all the days of his life. As for his allowance, there was a continual allowance given to him by the king of Babel, a portion for each day until the day of his death, all the days of his life. Alrighty, well that's the end of the book of Jeremiah. So yeah, I'm excited to read Ezekiel next. Go ahead and get my Bible app over to there. Ezekiel in this week, Ezekiel has been brought up a lot of times, an unusual amount of times, which is kind of crazy. Maybe it gets brought up regularly, often, and I just am noticing it because we're reading Ezekiel next. But Ezekiel seems to be coming up a lot, so I'm praying that it's Yahweh's providence and his perfect timing. I think that it is. I don't know why I feel like that. Besides, it just keeps on getting brought up, and so Ezekiel should be a good read too. Well, I appreciate you guys listening to the book of Jeremiah with me, and I hope you guys have a really blessed day. We're gonna go ahead and well, first I want to catch up and see what you guys are talking about in the chat, because my whole screen is full of scripture most of the whole time. So if you message while I'm reading, I didn't see it. Good morning, JS Badger. Learning the way, shalom. Lots of shaloms and good mornings. Oh, wait. What are you guys talking about? Oh, 6 thumbs up. I see. Yeah, if you want to give it a thumbs up, it's appreciated. I don't know how effective that is with algorithm stuff, but if one other person starts joining us in our Bible studies, could spread. We end up having a bigger impact on the YouTubers out here. I need to check the context of the verse when I get where I'm going, but the tares are blown by every wind of doctrine. Hey, that's a good point. Yeah, with the winnowing instrument. I believe that it's not good to be tossed like the waves of the sea. Wherever the wind blows, you just tossed around, man. Yeah. They are stubble before the wind and as chaff that the storm carries away. Is this it, Aaron? That's definitely paralleling what he was talking about. But the ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. I am not going to be at Armin the Saints this year. Unfortunately, I never got the email or the memo, so I didn't know when it was going to be, so I missed out. But yeah, thanks for being here, Country Fun, Shalom, GR Cleve, Travis, Roman Jeeper, love you guys. JS Justice Designs, JS Badger, Saucin. All you guys are awesome. You guys are like this. We got the same group of people in here each week, which is super cool. We're gonna do another one of those videos where I put a link in the chat and invite you guys on to introduce yourself. So just a fair warning, I'm gonna put you on the spot and ask you to jump on here. Maybe we'll do that this Shabbat. I don't know. I know that I'm gonna be fellowshipping with a group in my area on Shabbat. I'll actually probably see you, Aaron, and whoever else is. I don't know if there's anybody else from that fellowship in this chat right now, but so I will be doing some fellowship this week. Divinely Blessed Design, Shalom. Yeah, been listening and framing. Right on. Yeah, that's I understand a lot of people can't interact with the chat because maybe you're working or driving or whatever. I totally understand. I'm not super active in the chat anyways, as you've noticed. So I would like to be. I'll figure out how to multitask. I'm very unskilled at multitasking right now. I easily distracted, but awesome. All right. We love you guys. I'll end it here and we can all get back to doing the things that we need to do today. All right. Shalom.